baseball tonight. Mariners and the Blue Jays. Just a suggestion, and it's a suggestion. Don't pitch to Vlad Guerrero. He is on a heater right now. He is doing something that the last time this happened, it was Babe Ruth. And speaking of Babe Ruth, Shohei Ohtani did some things that even Babe Ruth didn't do. Ron Darling was on the call, the former World Series champ with the Mets, and broadcasting with TBS in the booth for Friday night, the pennant-clinching victory. Ronnie, you've seen a lot of baseball.
Ooh.
Have you seen anything that compares to what you saw on Friday night?
I've never seen anything like it. I think that we're used to seeing great things from great athletes, and we always find the words. I found it very difficult to find any words for what happened on Friday night. That's something that I thought might be 100 years from now, maybe. I didn't know it was present now. It was just it was stuff that you see in Williamsport. You don't see at Dodger Stadium on a Friday night.
A Little League World Series instead of a playoff. But, no other player has this opportunity to pitch and then bat leadoff. I mean, there's nobody else. Even Babe Ruth didn't do this. He probably batted third in the lineup with the Yankees, but he stopped pitching to just then concentrate on hitting.
Yeah, it's and the pitching and the way you pitched and got people out in those days certainly is a little different than what guys are looking at today. But I remember, I'm old enough that when I was drafted, I remember saying to my agent, I said, what if I don't like who drafts me? Why can't I go to Japan and play for a couple of years? I'm 20 years old. It would be a great place to hang out, learn a lot about baseball, formative years, and also a new culture. And my agent told me that you'd be blackballed from baseball forever. But the one thing he did say, and I'll never forget it, because he said, it's inferior baseball over there. They'll have some pitchers maybe someday come over and make their mark. But the everyday player will never have a place in a Major League Baseball. And in my lifetime, we have the best player that I've ever seen was born in Japan.
But you also look at this and you wonder that, will this spawn other players who, and usually your pitcher is your shortstop and your best player and he bats third in the lineup. Why haven't we seen more of this? Paul Skeens was a great hitter in college, and I don't know. Can you take advantage of that? Will teams do that?
I can only speak from my own experience, because when I hear about other pitchers that were great hitters, I'm always a little skeptical, and only in this sense is that I was a player pitcher myself, and I had great years as a collegiate. And then I started taking batting practice against major league pitchers, and the spin and the velocity. And I was, wow, am I out of my league? So even most collegiate players who are great hitters and pitchers find when they get to the major league level that they're not. So that's what makes it even more remarkable.
What was it more remarkable, the pitching or the hitting? If we separate the two, that he hits 3 bombs, but also the pitching, because, man, that was some filthy stuff that he was throwing.
Well, I think if we separate it, the pitching was remarkable only because he hasn't done a lot of it this year, and that he could be 2 weeks in between throwing in a major league game and produce those kind of results. But the one thing, Dan, I will tell you, especially his second and third home run, our people at Turner, they do such a great job with the pictures and the sound. They could not replicate the sound that second home run made. From the booth, it sounded like someone had shot off a cannon. I mean, the sound of the connection between bat and ball, I've never heard that before. And I've heard some great sounds, including some personally off me, that ended up going a long way. But I had never in the booth heard something that loud. And, we tried to capture it leaving the stadium. And when I was a young player going to Dodger Stadium for the first time, I had people all the time say, well, that's where Stargell hit the ball over the pavilion. And I guess kind of like Ted Williams' seat in Fenway Park. Yeah, whatever. Whatever you want to say. That's great. That's a nice story. And then you see someone do it. And you say to yourself, that which you thought was impossible is possible.
I have fallen in love with the sound, and you bring that up, and I would just have Marvin, who gets all of our sound, I'd say, just get me Ohtani hitting that home. There's nobody who sounds that way. You could say, I'm going to play 5 sounds. and I'll go, well, that one's Ohtani. I don't know if any, like Bonds, McGuire, who I don't know who you faced that you would go, oh my God. Soon as it hits the bat, you know that it's gone.
Yeah, there definitely is a different sound for the amazing hitter. Barry, I faced him early in his career, and there definitely was Ken Griffey Jr. The ball would leave his bat in a specific way, but the thunder, which comes off the bat of Ohtani, is just special.
Explain to me, the Dodgers' plan is to let their starters go a little bit further. It seems to be counterintuitive to what everybody else in baseball is doing.
Well, yes, because they're at a perfect spot. They've done something that very few teams can do, have done, or afford to do, and that is.
Do you need to get a drink of water? Go ahead.
Yeah,
drink of water.
Do you mind? So, give me 1 second.
Okay, go ahead. So Ron was on the call. That was Friday night with Game 4. The TBS lead analyst. He won the World Series back with the Mets in 1986. All right.
Sorry about that. That very few teams can do. They got these pictures, Snell and Glasnow and others, and they're at a spot where they've only pitched 60 to 100 innings. So right now in October, they have the most well-rested staff with some of the most talented pitchers in baseball performing at their best. And I think that's why they're asking more of them than you've ever seen in the playoffs. We've had guys before that they get to this point, they have 200 innings or 185 innings. We're talking about guys that you can push for a couple of reasons. One is that they're where they're at innings-wise. But two, they've made their money, Dan. And that seems to be a very important thing for especially pitchers in baseball. If they've made their money, I think they're more willing to go that extra mile.
What do you mean?
I think that when you get to the postseason and you're dealing with a player or a pitcher that has not gotten his 4 or 5 year contract, their agent, themselves, people around them, the team, are hesitant sometimes to push them to a level that they've never been before. But if they've made their money, I feel like they feel confident that they can go and go that extra mile and pitch 7, 8 innings as opposed to the 5 or 6 that you see before.
Vlad Guerrero has been hot the entire postseason. I mean, Ohtani was hot for one game, but Vlad Guerrero, I got to walk him, Ronnie.
I'm amazed. We're supposed to be at the smartest point we've ever been in baseball, and sometimes it's really nothing more than throwing all the papers away and everything and charts and all of that, and just watching an athlete at his best. I guess we've all been waiting for Junior to get to this point because we knew he had all the talent in the world. But and I know you know this better than anyone, when the talent and maturity clash all at the same time, it's one of the most beautiful things to watch in athletes. And that's where he is right now. He just, his intelligence about hitting is coupled with his innate athletic talent. So it's fun to watch. And I'm with you. That Seattle would ever challenge him at any point makes no sense to me.
And this is apples and oranges, but if I took the Bill Buckner game 6 in the World Series, and put that up against Ohtani's game Friday night, crazier game that you think you would never see again, which one would it be?
Well, I think it would be the Buckner game to me. I think only because Ohtani could do it again, and he might do it again in the World Series. It was just the strangest thing with that game because it was built on the Mets coming back in Game 6 in the NLCS against Bob Knepper, 3 runs down. It was coupled with Dave Henderson leading off that inning with a home run and adding an extra run against Rick Aguilera, who would become one of the great closers in the game. All of that together, no one recovers from that. But because of guys like Gary Carter and Kevin Mitchell and Ray Knight and Mookie Wilson, we had a big thing in one of the playoff games that Bryce Terang, the second baseman, couldn't get out of the way of a pitch, or did get out of the way of a pitch, but the bases loaded, and if he got hit, they would have tied the game. And I think to myself, I might not have had a career in TV if Mookie Wilson couldn't have got out of the way before he hit that ground ball, and we ended up winning the World Series. So you never know what's kind of transpire.
It was so strange being there that night and going into the locker room, and Keith Hernandez always had a six-pack of, I think, Michelob.
Yeah, Michelob, you got it right.
And then I went in there, and I realized he was in there when the rally was happening, getting undressed. And it was one of those where, I mean, everybody kind of thought this foregone conclusion, but it's still one of those. You want to talk about a roar. When you guys won that game, that roar at Shea Stadium was incredible. And then I had to go into the Red Sox locker room to interview Bill Buckner right after that.
I mean, one of the worst things you ever have to do, right? Anytime you have to go into the losers' locker room, but especially with Bill, who is one of the great players, one of the great hitters to have to face. The one thing I will say about that night is, the locker rooms aren't like they are now. The locker rooms were pretty pathetic in those days, and we had that popcorn ceiling. And because of the war, as you were talking about, and the people dancing in the stands, all of the soot and dirt was coming through the popcorn ceiling, and all of us thought, I think, as a collective group, this stadium could come down, but I think we're all comfortable. If it's going to come down, this is the best time.
Who do the Dodgers want to face between these two teams tonight?
I don't think the Dodgers care who they face, to tell you the truth. I think they're at a point right now where they're extremely confident. They've got 5 future Hall of Famers, if you include the manager, on the ball club. They're playing peak with their starting pitching. The relieving's coming along, and the lineup is as tough as any in the game. I don't think they fear anyone. If they had to face a team, maybe Seattle, because of that way they stay on the West Coast. Yeah. It's a little easier travel.
Yeah, that's what I was. So you got Ohtani, Mookie, Kershaw, Freeman, Dave Roberts.
There you go. That's their Hall of Famers at some point. So, and then we haven't. What if Snell gets his 3rd Cy Young? There's other players too.
I don't know. Can 3 Cy Youngs?
You feel like it at least gets you in the conversation. So,
well, yeah, I don't know anymore with starting pitching.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's really hard to go. Like, what gets you in as a starter anymore?
I know we're going to have starters in the near future who are going to have less than 150 wins, who are going to be seriously considered. And that's how much the game has changed. In fact, I think the win is going to change. It's going to be a collective decision by some group. I don't know if it's going to be the official score that will give it to whoever pitched the best that day. The 5 innings and all of that, I think, are going to go by the wayside someday. Maybe not in my lifetime, but it's going to go.
So to be open to interpretation from the official score of you get a win and you went 2 2/3.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Wow.
A starting pitcher could go 4 2/3 of scoreless baseball. Everyone else kind of suffers, and he gets the win even though he didn't meet our 5 inning minimum.
But then can you look back and look at some of these pitchers who ended up with 250 wins? And now do you look at Mike Mussina differently, or Bert Blyleven or Tommy John, or those Kurt Schilling, who should be in the Hall of Fame in my opinion?
100%. I'm a big Hall guy. All those guys I look at differently anyways, because they were kind of old school meets the new school. In this format, I think I can find maybe 50 or 60 more wins for myself. But we'll have to see.
Great to talk to you, Ronnie. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. Anytime.
That's Ron Darling. He was in the booth for the NLCS Game 4. Also, you look at that 86 Mets team. They should have won a couple more. That is a talented team.